Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today on Hercules and the Space Gods, we'll explore the mysteries of the blue aliens. I have with me Tim Swartz, who is a honored and respected researcher of things metaphysical. I have Paul Roberts, and Paul is an investigator and an adventurer into the mysterious realms. I have Marc Brinkerhoff, who is in touch with the universe at large and speaks from his own personal experience. And last but not least, I've Setna Comwest of Khemet, who will tie it all together with ancient Egypt as well as outer space. So I'm looking forward to what everybody has to say today. And we will start, of course, as we always start, with Tim Swartz.
Why, thank you, Hercules, and it's a great pleasure being with you tonight. I'm always happy that you asked me to participate in these round table discussions. I suppose that's a good way to refer to them. Um, Tonight we're talking about blue cosmic beings. And this is an interesting subject because when I first started thinking about it, I was like, blue cosmic beings. Now, how often have I heard any kind of supernatural, paranormal entities described as being blue? And at first it didn't really occur to me, but the more I thought about it, then the more information started filtering through my aged, bedraggled brain. and I remembered that there's actually quite a bit throughout paranormal supernatural history about these beings. Now, blue cosmic beings often refers to entities that are sometimes depicted as benevolent, wise, and they're often associated with blue colors and cosmic energies. Now, the color blue and cosmic energy are often used to represent, I suppose, the vastness and mystery of the universe. And the beings themselves are seen as maybe embodiments of these qualities. Um, if you look at some of the old mythologies and legends, and I'm just going to give, like a cursory examination of some of these because everyone else here probably has better details than I do on these. But, some notable blue-skinned or blue-associated cosmic beings include the Hindu deities like Lord Vishnu, Lord Rama, Lord Krishna, and Lord Shiva, as well as the mythological blue men of the mink and of course, the Arcturians, which is a name that's been given to allegedly a certain group of extraterrestrial entities. Now, Lord Vishnu is known as the preserver of the universe and is also often depicted with a blue skin. And I have to refer to my notes here to make sure I get this right. Lord Rama, a deity associated with chivalry and virtue, blue skin. Lord Krishna, known as the god of love and friendship, and is often depicted with blue skin. Lord Shiva, the god of destruction, and is often depicted with a blue skin. Uh, Now, you also have the blue men of the mink, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. It's spelled Minch. And they're also known as the storm kelpies. And these are mythological creatures inhabiting the stretch of water between the northern outer Hebrides and mainland Scotland. Now, I mentioned the Arcturians. In the New Age context, these are described as loving and peaceful beings who are said to guard the earth and help heal the planet. Now, I should also mention that Whitley Strieber beginning with his book Communion, referred to the some of the first creatures that he encountered as being short, stocky, and blue skinned. And these were the creatures that at one point referred told him, and this has happened several other times with other people who have encountered what they perceive as possibly UFO occupants or extraterrestrials with blue skin, that these things told Strieber that sometime in the future you are going to be us.
Hmm.
And there has been some speculation with some people who have done research on this subject that possibly these blue beings, these blue colored beings, and others are us, are human beings in that they are our adult form. All right. And I know that this may sound a little bizarre, but think of human beings at this point as caterpillars. All right. And we're still children. And we only obtain adulthood when we pass away, when we leave our bodies to this from this physical plane. And our next step in growth is something else entirely. Our adult stage is something else entirely that is perceived by humans still living in the material world as these blue beings or possibly other types of what are described as aliens or extraterrestrials, but the speculation is that they're not. They're actually us, as we grow up. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but I find it kind of like a very fascinating hypothesis that we really are only children, and that death is our puberty, so to speak, and then takes us into adulthood. Now, I should also mention that the late Calvin Parker, who was him and Charles Hickson were part of the Pascagoula incident, where they were abducted by a craft and robotic types of beings when they were out fishing one evening. Now, Calvin had an experience inside this craft that he did not talk about until um, years later. Because Calvin was so freaked out by his experience that he wanted nothing to do with it. It actually gave him mental difficulties, and he actually um, would move from place to place if he was recognized. If he was working a job and somebody said, "Hey, weren't you that guy that was, kidnapped by the, little green men?" And he basically would take his family and find a new job someplace else. Uh, that's how bad he was disturbed by the incident. Years later, he finally told the story of what happened to him when he was inside this craft. And he was in a room on a table, and this room was glowing a very bright blue. And a woman entered this room, and he said that she looked like she had blue skin, blue glowing skin. He couldn't tell, though, whether or not she actually had blue skin or if it was just because of the color of the room. Unfortunately, he did not have a pleasant experience um, with this woman. She, even though she communicated with him telepathically, telling him that he didn't have anything to worry about, that he wasn't going to be hurt, she then proceeded to take her fingers and shove them down his throat, hurting him in the process. He said later he was left with the impression that maybe she had implanted something in him, but he could never be sure. But this frightened him so much that he buried it. This was a repressed memory that he had for years, and when he finally got older and was able to deal better with what had happened to him. But he said that he was always left with the impression that this woman was glowing blue, and this is one of the few examples of the blue cosmic beings, if you want to refer to them that as being anything other than friendly towards people. The majority of the research that I have done on this, these creatures always tend to be very nice and friendly and helpful, more interested in assisting people maybe with our like I said earlier, that next step in our growth. There's also a very interesting book, and I've only read excerpts from this, and I need to find the entire book. And it was written by a man by the name of Reverend John Polk, and this book was called "The Blue Beans: Visitations at the UFO Conference." And according to this book, on the evening of Saturday, August 29th, 2015, at the Experiencers Speak Conference at the Farside Inn in Portland, Maine, four visitors not of this world, reality, or dimension arrived just as world famous experiencer Travis Walton was to share the new documentary Travis, the True Story of Travis Walton. And these four people were described as having blue skin. And again, I really need to read this book to give you a better example of what happened. But you would think that four people with blue skin, especially at an experiencer conference, would stand out like sore thumbs, and would be noticed immediately. So again, I'm going to have to read this book to give a better example. But throughout UFO history, there have been some really fascinating cases of people seeing creatures coming out of landed UFOs um, that have been described as glowing bright blue, like almost fluorescent blue. Sometimes to the point where this blue light emanating from them overwhelms everything else, and that's all you can see. Just imagine trying to look at a fluorescent bulb, a brightly glowing fluorescent bulb, and trying to discern any details from it. And this is what some experiencers have described these blue beams as. The light is almost so overwhelming that any kind of physical details can't be seen because the light is so bright. But again, like I said before, these experiences usually are have been described as pleasant and friendly, with none of the fear that is associated with a lot of abduction cases. And before I finish up here, Hercules, I should also note that there are a lot of beings described with blue skin and blue features in a lot of the fairy and fae legends, especially in England and Scotland. Those two especially, it seems to that seems to predominate. And Whitley Strieber, he called his blue beings kobolds, which, interesting enough, is a fey type of creature,
Yes.
often associated with miners. But I don't know if they're described as having blue skin. I think some of the ones that I have read, they're more described as having black skin. So I don't know if Whitley Strieber just came up with that name on his own, or if it was referred to him. But with that, Hercules, I'll end it and let somebody else have a chance at the
Thank you.
podium.
Um, just a small bit of Herculean lore. In antiquity, the Romans and other people believed that Hercules was Belus, The Hindu god Belus was also called Balarama, who was the twin of Krishna, who, as we know, was a blue-skinned deity. So Hercules and his family in India had blue skin as well.
That's fascinating. Now, see, now that I did not know. That's going in my notes right now, Hercules.
I'm greatly honored. I'll move on to Paul Dale Roberts, who I'm sure has a very interesting presentation from his experiences to share with us.
Well, thank you, Hercules. And Tim gave a lot of information out that I actually had there. And especially with the Whitley Strieber situation, the blue aliens, there were sort of like worker bees for the gray aliens. They wore hoodies and cloaks and stuff like that. And I remember watching the movie from the book Communion. And when I saw those blue aliens, I said to myself, who in the heck are these guys? And um, and it's kind of interesting because with UFO lore, you have the gray aliens, you have blue aliens, according to Whitley Strieber. You even have green aliens, like in Hopkinsville, where they had a 4 hours. This family for 4 hours was shooting it out with these little green aliens. So you have gray, you have blue, you have green, and of course, if you want to take it back to ancient history, and just like what Tim was talking about, you have the Hindu gods, Vishnu, Krishna, and Shiva. And their blue skin sort of represented the sky, the universe, spiritual wisdom. Vishnu, who is also blue, his power is infinity and it's associated with water, which kind of makes sense.
Mm.
With me as a paranormal investigator, I deal with orbs, and orbs like could be almost anything. It could be skin flakes, it could be dust, it could be dewdrops, it could be light refractions, uh, you name it. It could be that. But if we can show intelligent movement on that orb, then I can deem it as paranormal. And in one situation, and I'll just say it real quick, uh, this one entity named Emily, she would drain the energy from the occupants. And one of my investigators says, I had to sit down. He goes, I feel fatigued. I feel tired. I said, I wonder if Emily is draining the energy from you. I said, Emily, if you're listening to me, kiss him on the lips. And we snapped a photo, three of us with our cameras, and we caught an orb on his mouth. That was something I could say had intelligent movement, and I can deem that as paranormal. And I said, Emily, if you're listening to me again, sit on his lap. And when we snapped the picture, the orb was now hovering over his lap. Intelligent movement. And so we deal with different type of orbs, and we try to determine if they have intelligent movement. And we learned that different colors of orbs represent something. A green orb usually represents nature. Pink, something feminine, female. Red, anger. Black, depression or sadness. And a blue orb, something that's calm, peace, calmness, spiritual protection, healing, creativity, and communication. That's what a blue orb represents. So if you see a blue orb, that's something not to be frightened of. A light blue orb, tranquility. Dark blue, wisdom. And what I've experienced as a paranormal investigator, I went to a murder site of a serial killer, Roger Kibbe, the I-5 Strangler. This is where he took a woman from a bar and took her to I-5 and Sutterville. parked alongside the river, the embankment, parked his car, opened up the glove department, pulled out a pair of scissors, and started snipping at her dress. Then he wound up strangling her and dumping her body down by the Sacramento River. When we were taking pictures out there, we got this one photo that blew me away. Along the Sacramento River and hovering over the Sacramento River, something that we couldn't see with our eyes, was a black orb. And a black orb represents depression and sadness. So with that, on some of my paranormal investigations, we've had red orbs. And it seems like in red orbs, the paranormal investigation was chaotic. People were losing their car keys. Things were being thrown off the cabinet. We're getting EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, where the entity is telling us to leave, to get out. You're not welcome here. Showing anger. And in our photographs, we have the red orbs. And places where it's been really peaceful, we actually did an investigation in Placerville in which the lady said that her daughter had passed away and that an angel came to their house, and the angel was haunting their house. And we actually captured a whole lot of pictures of blue orbs floating around that house, showing calm, peace, and possibly an angel that resides at that house. And that's what I've experienced with color blue in the paranormal.
Wow, just like Tim gave me the name of a book to quest for now on the blue entities, and I have to look for that book and find it. You've opened up a lot of doors of inquiry as well. When you were describing the different colors, I was thinking of like auras, and I was thinking of also mood rings. Remember mood rings, where you wear the mood ring,
Yes, I forgot about that.
and you'd ask people, "How are you doing?" And they look at their mood ring. Oh, I'm depressed. You know.
Oh yeah, you're right. I mean, I completely forgot about that. But when I was a little boy, I had a mood ring. And yeah, if it turned black, I was depressed, and red, I was angry. Yes, absolutely. I forgot all about that.
And what blue means and light blue and dark blue, those figure very much into my inquiry. So I'm going to invite both you and Tim to spend more time on what you shared today, if you'd like.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Hercules.
And now we go to Marc. Greetings, Marc Brinkerhoff.
I keep myself muted because I cough sometimes, but
I was coughing too, and I muted myself when I was coughing as well.
well, thanks, Hercules, for inviting me as usual. I love everything everybody's talking about now. I can't wait for Michael. One of our favorite other blue entities, who was from space, is known as the Medicine Buddha in Reiki. And I've met the Medicine Buddha, and he appeared to me while I was doing a course, actually taking a course with a friend that we had. So I saw his giant blue feet in front of me physically, and he was usually about 15 feet tall. Now that sounds like the Arcturian type sizes, because the Arcturian types are 20 feet and 15 feet and all that. And a long time ago, gazillion years ago, I was in that Arcturian phase, so I was there, and we were pretty tall. I won't say we were all blue, but they have different shades of the blue. So they have blue tones that can be darker blue or light blue. And then there's again Krishna, the being that is Krishna, I have met in space, and he is blue skinned, and he's from the area in space that are blue skinned people, again going towards Arcturus and the Pleiades, not the Pleiades, I'm sorry, the Bootes, that star system as well, right? Yeah, that's part of the star systems. So we have those blue people. And there's other blue tone beings in other places. We have blue cat-like people. We have different humanoid looking types. We won't go into the gray type, but they're tall. So they might have no hair or so on their head and all. We have different kinds of space beings like that. Then they work with the energy of the blue frequency. Some of the beings in space, when I was on the ship when I was 5 years old, we had a lavender, dusty lavender blue tone, mostly a lavender pinkish tone energy that engulfs me when I was coming on the ship with the being. And that cleansed and detoxed the whole body and everything from the earth frequency here to acclimate me to the ship that they were in. So when the doors opened, I was acclimated. And that was a very pale lavender with a blue hint in it, but just lightly. The blue light some of these entities used, I won't say they're all great, because I had a friend who's passed on now. She's in she was in North Carolina. She was being taken on by the gray types, and they would telepathically talk to her. She could be standing in the kitchen doing dishes or something, and she would hear an interruption, and they'd say, "Come to the door." And she'd go, "No, I'm not coming to the door." But what she did, she went to look at the door and looked at her window peephole thing, and there was a blue beam of energy there on her doorstep. They said, "Don't be afraid, come out." But she knew, and this is where comes with these different beings. That blue light draws a person towards it. They step into it, they get taken on the ship, and then they get all these things happening to them, like our friend had, where she had pregnancies taken and cuts on her back that they did, and doctors looked at it and said, "This is surgical." There's no way she could have put it on her back where it was located. So Bud Hopkins used her in some of his books or videos he would show, or slides. So the blue beam is not always of the good things. They might make it look nice and the person goes towards it. But with those other entities we call grays or whatever you want to call them, I don't trust them. I know there's good ones out there, because there are, but the ones coming around planet Earth, they supposedly had altered some of this information we're doing here. But we still got to be careful. And when I was on the ship, it was a white beam. And the beams I shot in our backyard back in 1967 were white, a white beam. And I would say from my experience with the crew that I have, white beam is the one that's gentle and of good. So I'm just putting that out there as what's happened to people with these entities who use the blue beam to take you in, levitate you to the ship or teleport you. But they were of the gray type entities. I'm trying to think of some other things besides that. We have, basing on our aura, blue is a great color to have in our aura. So the mood ring Hercules, like we've all had, actually worked with that. So we have the blue, the lavender tones, dark blue is always in like Paul was saying, like in depth, or nuns would have dark blue around them, something contemplating. And that's when I see auras, I know that by looking at the color of their aura and the way I see the shades, that they're into this or into nature. There's a lot of green. Also healing is a lot of green. So nurses have a lot of that, but different shades of green too. And the darker the emerald tone, the more nature and loving they are. So I see that around people. Besides, like Hercules, you have that, the darker green for the nature and the love of nature. And that's also the nature kingdom. Like, the green is when you're loving the nature kingdom too, our little fairies and everyone. So pink is always, for me, always has represented love, or gentleness and sweetness, kindness. Gold was intellect, yellow gold around the top of people's heads. We're studying lots of things in there, lots of books and reading. So when I saw the gold around a person, I would say, "Oh, you're doing a lot of reading, studying?" They go, "Yeah, I am." So it gets into it. And like Paul said, black is not a good color around an aura. That's a dark entities, dark surrounding them, or they're very much into money and of the things of this earth that are not good. Could be drugs, could be black arts, could be all kinds of stuff, Satanist, I don't know. But the black around an aura is not good. And black orbs, we have taken pictures of beautiful orbs here, pink and purple, lavenders and blue, but never saw a dark one. But I did see dark clouds, physical clouds over people in a group, like a conference, and they would walk with the cloud would be over them, and the person itself who had the black cloud was very disturbed. So I knew that's not a good thing seeing that, but I would see it physically. No one else would see it. So for me, it was visions for that. So dark black and those things are not good. Red is always pain, anger, or something severely hurt, like a diseased organ or some cancer could show up as red on the person's aura near their body where it is. Not just cancer, but anything that, like you fell off a horse and you damaged your knee and it hurts, it's red. It'll show red. And the purple was always a good color too. That was always deep thought, contemplation, and on creator or on love. That would be purple too, is with the blue. Now I'm trying to go back to the aliens, but in space I've seen different aliens that are blue skinned, lighter blue, pale blue, sky blue. Like you said, Tim, with Whitley, that cobalt blue. There's a dark blue that's beautiful. If you think of the cobalt electric blue kind of look of a neon light, but go a little darker into that darker color, that's another color that's out there on the people I've seen.
That's one of my favorite colors. The sky, the second before it turns black.
Oh,
That's
yes,
like
that's
deep cobalt blue.
yes.
And,
Or like an ocean. Sometimes the ocean gets that
yes.
cobalt blue, or that Pacific, well, the island blue. That's another blue that's out there. That really beautiful blue, like almost light, but not too light, almost aqua blue. You got people in that color. But humanoids, like people like us, as well as humanoids that resemble a tall gray, or not a gray, but they resemble that bald head, long eyes, but they have irises and eyes like we have, but they're just large. So I guess that's best I can say for the blue people I met, or the blue energy when we worked with it. Again, we're going to have these other energy frequencies working with Earth from ET technology. We're going to call them med beds for now, but in space we call them biodynamics and diameters or something. But I've been on those beds, and in fact, that's how I got this thing in the back of my head. But there's no pain on them, so you might hear about those frequencies. They're different colors, working with the energy fields as well.
Thank you so very much. As always, I learned a lot. Both you and Tim brought up the elementals or the fae, and that's going to be one of our upcoming inquiries, because Jacques Vallée did a lot of pioneering work in showing that there is a correlation. There's also been a correlation between angels and aliens, so that's something else we'll be exploring.
That's something, Hercules, I forgot. A scientific friend of mine, a long time ago, probably early mid-70s, he might be on the other side now. His name was Paul, but he worked, he was the one who told me all about psychotronic warfare that was going on in the early 70s with America and Russia and all these places. But he was saying to me something fascinating. Tim, this was so fascinating. I maybe you could dig up more information. Paul Salvin was our friend's name. And he used to live in White Plains. But I used to hang out with him in 1977. And he told me, because of the studies that they were doing, he was one of the original guys with the plant studies where they did telepathy with the plants. Hercules, remember these stories?
Yes, I remember the stories.
He's one of the original scientists who worked with the original guys, because he was a scientist. And they had set up, okay, someone had a pet plant, they're snake plant, let's say, and you talk to the snake plant before they put you on the road. They're saying, you just drive around now, you're going to come home, we have the garage down, so telepath to the plant, we're coming home, can you open the door? Because they had it hooked up with certain switch frequencies. And sure enough, when he got home, as they were coming home, the door would open up, because the plant knew he was coming near the house.
Oh, very cool. I did not know that.
That's one thing. That was another, but this one was fascinating. This we got to check on. He said the military at the time, in let's say 73, they were practicing with these goggles they were using, like night vision goggles, which we have today. And they set them out to go checking things out in the woods, they're like hunting or whatever they were doing in their military thing. And the guys started coming back and calling on their transmitters, walkie-talkies. We're freaking out. We got to get out of here. Help us, blah, 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 blah. And they got them back and they said, what's the matter? They said, well, we're seeing with the goggles, we're seeing these things coming up from under the earth, like dragons, or coming around the trees, like nature spirits.
So what color was that?
And that was when they studied the glasses, or what they had, the goggles. And Paul said that what they did discover was the blue gel that was inside there was what was revealing to them the other side of that frequency that they were seeing. They were seeing nature spirits. Let's say, what else with our little friends, the rock gnomes coming up from the ground, coming in from out of a tree, and our favorite elves and everything coming in.
Could be satyrs too.
And oh yeah, satyrs, nature beings, all the nature beings, but the dragons they described coming up out of the earth, going in, coming up out of the earth. And those are the ground dragons. And so that was interesting, right? The blue gel they removed from their goggles. So whatever they have today is the green color, right? But the blue is taken out because they were seeing too much into the frequency. And that's what Paul told me. They discovered that was the color of the gel they had to take out that was opening that frequency for them to see. Now that's something cool to study again.
That's something cool to study.
He told me that in upstate just by himself. He said, this is something they're doing, but he did this. If we can, I was saying, Paul, can we do that? Can we find the kind of gel? He says they're in the color gels, whatever the photographers use.
Oh, really? Okay.
They might be that blue, but Hercules, the blue is similar to the color that we like. Almost the cobalt mid-blue, sky blue, mid-blue, cobalty color. So you see how
something
nice.
to do when we next get together.
Yeah, right. I just thought we should know that. And Tim, maybe you've got connections to people who might know it military-wise. I don't know any military people except my cousin who was in the Air Force. And he was like but he won't tell me anything.
Paul raised his hand. Paul, you have something to add to that?
I'm military. I'm a vet, 12 years Army.
Oh, cool. All right.
Thank-
Phyllis's brother was Marines, then
thank
you
you
have the
for
Air
your
Force,
service.
all these
Thank you
guys.
for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
But you probably use those night goggles. I was trying to
Oh,
find.
yes, I
who
have
did with
some
night
right.
goggles.
I have some right here. Yes.
All right.
Somebody told me,
Gentlemen?
Hercules, someone told me a while back, you can go to the firemen or the police and they might have old night vision goggles. They might just give you one. And I thought, well, that'd be nice to know a policeman or a fireman. Maybe they would, but I don't know. Does that sound right to anybody? Because that's some people had gotten some old ones. to play.
I'm a local eccentric, so it might not be that unusual for me to ask for something straight. So
Oh, yeah, okay.
let's see.
What
Yeah,
about-
I use my night.
Has,
I use my night vision goggles for my paranormal investigations. And
That's-
sometimes you can actually see the entities through the night vision goggles.
here you go, confirmation.
Awesome.
That's what I mean.
Thank
That's
you
that's
so
what we
much.
need.
And
And we
Paul, I was thinking of something as the conversation progressed, we got on the topic of elementals. When I was very actively astral projecting, sometimes one of the forms I could take, and other people could take this form, are orbs with tendrils. Like when you look at a Tesla coil where they have those electrical discharges in the glass globe. It's like a ball of light that's like egg shaped roughly with tendrils of like an electricity, I guess. That's a form that humans take when they're wandering around astrally.
I
Sometimes.
agree. Me too. In space, you can be an orb, a giant 360 all around you orb that knows everything happening all around you. And that's our real forms, actually, Hercules on high planes.
And that it's disconcerting to be able to see 360 degrees. It's something that can't be described when you
Yeah.
tap into that, but
It's focused almost
normal
too.
when you're there.
It's interesting, and you said that because they had a picture or a video of a UFO with tendrils that was going through
wow.
the Middle East. Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. And also, too, anytime we can determine that an orb has intelligent movement, we consider that as a spiritual containment field. That's what we call it.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
I
And we
love
have
this
some
conversation.
intelligent orbs too in this house.
Information.
Yeah. They take right turns and they go around. Yep.
Yeah.
No dust particle, not a, yeah. And I've seen the spray water on a spray and what it looks like and how it looks like an orb. So when you were
Well,
talking,
what I do now is I place my hand on the wall and I say if you're listening to me, appear by my hand, and we'll take a picture of my hand, and there'll be an orb on it.
Wow,
So that shows intelligent movement.
Yes.
absolutely.
It's like with EVF, what do you call it? If you ask questions into the air, if you're recording it, sometimes answers will come up on the tape recorder, but you have to develop it. You have to like play it back a few times before the words are clear enough to hear. But
you
very
mean
fast.
like electronic voice phenomena, you mean?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what he
Yeah,
said.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I used to walk around with one of those little tape recorders and just talk into the air and sometimes play it back a few times. And it's really surprising. One apartment I lived in was haunted, and I kept having these dreams of money, like being all over the place. And the ghost wanted his money. And then I started talking into the microphone, and the ghost gave me a name. So it turned out later, because I did some research, that the name that was repeated over and over again was his daughter's name. And this was somebody who was a hoarder. So he filled magazines full of his money, and the building threw them away until
Oh,
he
no.
dropped one of the magazine. So I had to convince the ghost that I did not have its money, nor did.
Wow.
Oh wow. Wow.
Oh my God.
Whoa, he could not take it with him.
No, no, but he wanted to, and he was willing to stick around with it.
Oh my God.
Oh
Now,
my God.
thank you so much, Mark, and thank you, Phyllis. It's always such a treat when you're there contributing to the conversation.
She's just sitting right here.
And now,
Thank
last but not least, Setna Comwest of Khemet, also known as Michael K. Waterman.
Hello, everybody. How you doing?
Great.
I was going to bring up my ancestors. The Druids and the ancient Britons, of course, painted themselves blue to frighten people like the Romans and their enemies. They claimed they did that because they had energies around them, which I believe, fairies, elves, etc., that told them to paint themselves with a blue paint to make themselves more powerful. And I think that's kind of cool. And my ancestral gods. One is Manon Maclear, was a blue North Sea god, and also Melusina, who was an ocean, a river goddess. And my ancestors are called Waterman because they brought the rain from the sky. And they also, when they worked, wore blue face paint to summon this energy. And I thought that was kind of cool because those things were going on. And into my Egyptian energies, the Nile god, Hapi, is blue. He comes directly up from the ocean, or the water or the Nile, like the Lady of the Lake does. And he is like a grayish bluish tone, and often seen that way and painted that way. The god Amun, who is in the atmospheric energies, also is seen quite often painted blue. Um, so those energies are good. I was going to say to Paul, when I asked for project and Hercules, you'll say this too. I have been seen by people as a blue orb, and I'm doing healing work and things. I work, as you know, with cobalt when I do healing, and my cobalts, I'm able to send this energy to people, even with pictures. And I've done it with Hercules, and that does aid in healing. So I know that this color, this cobalt, very much is a healing energy. Well, this is what you'll see if I'm sending energy is that, a blue cobalt ball will float around and you'll see it. It's been photographed. When I worked years ago with the Casey Center in Virginia Beach, I was photographed leaving my body and floating around in a blue orb. And paranormal investigators in Long Island, the LIPE, Long Island Paranormal Investigators, which are in Ronkonkoma, I was their spiritual guide. And I was able to work with, reasoning with different spirits and things, and also clearing houses, and also bridging the energy between those that have passed on and those that are still on this physical plane. And many times when things were in a good way, for instance, I was talking for a long time ago about a grandfather biker who didn't like, I think I mentioned to you, Hercules, who didn't like the granddaughter's boyfriend, who was also a biker, I guess a rival bike company or biker group. Anyway, the energy, once he realized that things would be cool, the energy around the whole house became a very soft blue. So I'm very used to that energy as well. And when I do healings too, I create cobalt wands. It's hard to see in this, but you can see that it has that cobalt energy. And I also wear an Eye of Horus that has a cobalt center here. That you'll see the pupil is cobalt. So I use that energy in healing, and the deities that I work with, the spirits I work with, often are blue. Osiris, after all, is green, but as I say, Hapi and Amun are definitely blue.
Thank you so very much. And to lay low a myth, a lot of people believe that the ancient Greeks couldn't see the color blue, but that's contradicted by the fact that most of the paintings that they've left us are blue. They contain the ocean, they contain all sorts of blue animals and the blue sky and blue clothing on that's been dyed, and also they had the Murex shell, which gives you the dye of purple, red, and blue.
In Alexandria, the Greco-Roman or Greco-Macedonians had pottery that's only de rigueur to Greece, and it was blue. It was a particular blue, different from the Egyptian blue. And they've been finding it all over Alexandria, and they know that that's from that period, the Ptolemy period, when Alexander, of course, gave that region to Ptolemy. So I don't believe that either. I know that they saw blue because those pieces of pottery that they have, and including amphora jars that they recently found in the Mediterranean, are of course blue.
Yeah, yes, they are. And yet the myth remains. And I think I get hit with that myth most of the time when I'm talking somewhere that, oh, but the Greeks couldn't see blue.
I wonder where that came from. That's very
I
strange.
don't know, but it's very persistent and very untrue.
It's funny, guys. My art teacher when I was a teenager in high school or whatever mentioned that, Michael. He mentioned, oh, the early painters couldn't see blue, and we're all like, what? What did
That's
they
so
think it
wrong.
was? And he said, well, like a purple. And I'm like, okay. They thought the sky
All
was
you've got to
purple.
do is go down to the Minoans area. There's blue dolphins on the walls. If you go
Yes.
into any Egyptian temple, there are blue all over the place. And what color were the stripes on Tutankhamun's mummy, the mask? Blue, cobalt, lapis lazuli, blue.
Did they
So for them,
sometimes make Anubis bluish color too?
no, he's black.
He's black.
Anubis is the lord of the souls. He's black. The makeup around his eyes is gold and blue very often, but he's not blue. No.
No, no.
Um,
Okay,
no.
I was
The
just
Nile god is. He wears papyrus and lotus in his hair, and he comes up and he's blue like the blue Nile.
I love it.
love it.
We had in the Greek mythology and in classical literature, the sky gods were sometimes portrayed as blue, and water spirits, which are most often nature spirits and nature divinities, were portrayed as being blue.
Also, those river horses that look like, we'll call them nature horses, the nature spirit ones that come with the tail, like
Yeah, the hippogriffs.
Thank you. They look blue tones when I've seen them in the ocean. Then there's little nature spirits that are in the ocean as like water beings, and they run up on the shore. They have shades of blue, transparent, like bubbles. If that was your body, it was like a bubbly effect. But I could see them, and they're just beautiful. Also, my crew just said, "Don't forget, we're wearing blue spacesuits."
Here you go.
And of course, if you think back to Disney, Pinocchio had who working with him? The blue fairy. She was the one that taught him to be good until his nose grew.
But it grew well.
There's a very dirty joke that I won't tell about the blue fairy and Pinocchio.
Thank you. Save it for another time. Wow. there's enough information that was shared today to schedule many shows to discuss, and I'm sure we're going to do it. Tim, I want to start setting up regularly. It can be every 2 months, every 3 months, every month, whatever you feel more comfortable with, to start looking at the books in Zontar Press's library. And I know that Paul has been in a lot of the books. I've been in a few of them, and Michael is now in a few of them, and I'm sure he's going to be in a lot more. And Marc, why aren't you in Tim's books?
I muted. No one asked me, I guess.
Oh, there you go.
I got lots of strange stories.
Yes, you
Lots of strange
Well,
stories.
I started to say Mark has been in the books that we put together with Tim Beckley.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
true. That's true.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm trying to think of the
I feel like the one on Ashtar.
Oh, the Ashtar one, that was good.
yeah. Well, there was the what was it? UFO? I think it was.
Oh,
I
the
can't remember offhand now.
repeaters.
The
The
UFO
repeat.
photographs, or is it
Oh,
the
yeah, the
repeaters?
repeaters.
Okay, yeah. See,
Repeater.
that one's one of my favorite books, and Mark has just really a great chapter,
Oh,
in
my
that
God.
book.
We got a UFO couple, 2 weeks ago now,
Well, no,
by
we.
accident.
Oh, right, yeah.
They like to show up on my cameras or our cameras, which we were using a cell phone, Phyllis's new cell phone, and there was a hawk sitting on a building. And
Well, but no, the actual story is I had just finished putting together a video
oh, sure.
of
Yeah.
we called it a UFO fleet that happened 2 years ago, right?
Yeah,
And I said, oh, we might as well post it,
we
even
posted
though
it.
it's not very clear, but I did the best I could. And as soon as I got up from the table, having finished that YouTube, and I went, because Mark called me to the window, I said, oh, let me take a picture, because I hadn't taken any pictures with my new iPhone yet. And I just took the picture of the bird, and then I'm looking at it, and I said, oh, what's that? And
There was
a little-
nothing there
it was
because
a
when I
little-
was there.
It was a UFO.
It was it's on. We posted it in our YouTube channel.
Well, I didn't post
Oh
it.
no, we didn't. You
Oh.
posted it in the Facebook.
I don't know I don't know if I
I'm
put-
sorry, intergalacticmission.com under UFO photos. It's
Oh,
there.
right, I
That's
put
where
it there.
the movie is there plus that picture. It
It's
looked
not-
like a ring.
It's not very significant as Mark's UFOs go, but it was just significant that once we posted the fleet, they kind of gave us a little
They
kiss.
gave us a little hit.
They said,
Yeah,
here you go, good job.
because I'm not at the window that much anymore. The sky is so gray and cloudy here in New York. I go out and there's nothing up there. They're not showing anything.
But
So-
since our conversation is ending for today and you brought up contact information, we'll start with you in the contact information. How else can people reach you and follow your work and admire your art and learn more about your upcoming books that are coming out?
Oh, okay. Intergalacticmission.com is our main website. etuniversalzone.com is another website where we post more things on it too. And my art website is marcbrinkerhoff.com. And
YouTube is
we have
Marc Brinkerhoff.
YouTube is Marc Brinkerhoff. Facebook is Marc Brinkerhoff.
MARC
MERC.
with a C.
And our email on those sites are marcbrinkerhoff@yahoo.com. And we're working on our book. We're finishing it.
Yeah.
And we have another one with Nature Kingdom, which I'm sketching pictures for of the little crew here we got in the house and photographs of them. What else we got?
They're very old though. That
They're
goes
ancient.
back into the 80s.
Yeah. I should have a hidden cam that goes on at night vision cam, because they're running around here.
There you go.
Bumped into the elf one night. I was out
Blue
here
gel.
and boom, there.
Thank you very much, Marc, and thank you, Phyllis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
for having us.
And Tim, how can people find Zontar Press and all your other impressive body of work? You've been on Ancient Aliens and a lot of other shows as well. How can people enter your world?
Oh, sure. Well, and I wanted to point out real quick, you were talking about auras. When I was a kid, I had a woman who claimed that she could read auras, said that I had a blue aura. She didn't elaborate or anything like that, so I have no idea, if there was any, like a shade, like a cobalt blue or anything like that. But that's what she told me. Now, here now, what more than more than probably 50 years later, or 55 years later, who knows what color it is now?
I could see it. If you want to know, I'll tell you what color it is. You definitely got blue, and there is a lot of, again, golden light coming from the top of your head. Let me see the right. It's this side of the head. So for us on the screen, it's your left side of your right side of your head. There's a gold beam that way, and you
Well,
have green
I
and
hope
purple.
that I hope that's something good. The
It is. It's
gold,
great. Well, don't
a
forget,
gold
you're
beam.
into a lot of books and stuff. That's intellect. That means high intellect.
Ah,
Hercules
okay.
has high intellect. Michael, you guys all have high intellect. A lot of gold coming out of the top of your heads. And that's a good sign, Paul. Everybody.
Oh, well,
Blue is there. Definitely blue.
thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. But anyway, if you want to find out more about my books, you can probably the easiest way would be to go to Amazon.com. Just type in my name, Tim R. Swartz, and they'll all come tumbling out for your reading pleasure. Books that I wrote with Timothy Green Beckley, and our newest publications through Zontar Press, books such as Alien Artifacts, Mimics, The Others Among Us, and our most recent book, which is Weird Time, Exploring the Mysteries of Time and Space. And we've actually got a website for that one, and it's weirdtimebook.com. And so, I mean, just all of these books can be found both as print and ebooks, and some hopefully you can find at your favorite local bookstore or library. And I encourage everyone to please patronize both. You can also hear me. Excuse me. So sad. No, it's not sad. You can also hear me on the Paracast with Gene Steinberg, where I'm the co-host and co-producer, and you can find the Paracast on all of your favorite streaming services, and its website is theparacast.com. Very easy.
And I must say that every time I've been on the Powercast, people have stopped me in the street and said, "I heard you on the Powercast." So it's well listened to, and people think very highly of the show. Thank you very much. Paul, how can people reach you and tap into your many adventures?
Hercules, I used to have this fancy little website, and I would ask people, I said, how did you find me? Thinking that they're going to tell me they found me through the website. And they would say, oh, I Googled this and your name popped up. So I said, well, get rid of that website and just Google my name, Paul Dale Roberts. You'll find my articles, you'll find my books. When you type in Paul Dale Roberts, Tim even pops up. So it's like that's the easiest way to find me. Now my books are being published for free. I'm doing ebooks, and you'll find them in the Internet Archive. You'll find them in Google Play and Google Books. And I'm actually getting a nicer audience that are actually obtaining my free ebook. So I've been doing that. So, and you can also too Google Paul Dale Roberts Internet Archive, and you'll find all kinds of stuff.
Thank you so very much. I'm honored that you've become a regular here, and I look forward to your being on all the time. Like I look forward to everybody else. And if there's anything that you'd like to talk about, again, just let me know. I'm changing the format of the show. I'm focusing it a little bit more on UFOs and the paranormal and cosmic spirituality. So anything you'd like to talk about, just send me a line or give me a call, and let's do it. And last but not least, Michael Setna, Comwest of Khemet, K. Waterman.
I'm all of the above.
Yes.
You can get me at Michael K. Waterman on Facebook. You can reach me at the Pernitero Temple, which is on Facebook or Instagram. You can also get me at my work, which is Phone a Wizard. Or you can email me if you want to at mkwaterman@icloud.com. That's iCloud, not iCloud. And you can also get me by phone if you want. That's 516-650-3691, because I used to be a Long Islander. So I kept my phone number.
Thank you so very much to everybody, and thanks to our audience for tuning in. These shows are usually put on YouTube within 24 hours, so this will be up by tomorrow, which is Monday. So again, thank you all very much, and I wish you all success in all your endeavors, and I look forward to our next gathering.
Thank you, Hercules.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Good to see all of you guys. I miss
Yeah.
you.
It's all.
Same here,
Take
Michael.
care. Oh, well, we've got to talk, Paul. We have there's a lot of things I need to tell you. So find me, please.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Take care.
Goodbye, all.
Blessings,
Bye.
everybody.
Okay.